Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to our Teacher You Want to Be book study, Google Hangout live on air. This is really exciting to get a number of people together in the group that have been talking and sharing about this, but we're also happy to have viewers be able to listen to some of our thoughts and be able to just kind of think again about this book and these essays, whether you've read it or not, or thinking about it, or just curious about the conversation. My name is Jacqueline Caravinas, and I'm a consultant, and I work primarily with Heinemann Professional Development. And right now, we're just going to kind of go through and tell you who we are, so you know who we are and where we're speaking from today. I'm in New Hampshire. It was so windy today. Kathy, I don't know about you, but I just thought I was going to blow over in so many places. Very, very windy day in New Hampshire, but beautiful. And that's it. So I don't know if we want to kind of go down the line. Anna, if you want to go next.
Sure. I'm Anna Osborne. I'm a reading specialist in Columbia, Missouri. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, and I also do literacy coaching for my building. And I'm also a Heinemann Fellow for the next 2 years.
Wow.
Very excited.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Brophy, and I work with Jacqueline at Heinemann in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I'm coming to you live from my kitchen, where I've been sharing with these guys that we're getting ready for my youngest daughter to get married this Saturday, so I just had time to pop on and join the conversation and share, but I can't say enough about all the work that all of our teachers do, and our authors, Ellen, and our fellows like Anna, and the whole.
And Ariel is on too. Sorry.
Ariel, hi. I'm going to start now and let everybody else introduce themselves.
Chris, do you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. I click my picture, I take. Hi.
We'll just start with you.
And coming from Pennsylvania, and it was windy here today, Jacqueline. Yes. But this is my 31st year in education. Wow. I started out in kindergarten first, became a reading specialist, which was always my dream, and I've been doing that for the past maybe 12 years, 13 years. So this book just reawakened my soul. It just spoke to me and made me remember why I became a reading specialist, why I became a teacher. And I think it's so valuable for everybody to read.
Agreed. Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Best driver in the world?
Oh, we're skipping Matt and Ariel. See, I'm reading from left to right.
Oh,
I was taught to read from left to right, so I'm upside down. And as I look at my tagline, it looks backwards. Like Ellen Keene is written backwards, and Best Driver in the Universe is written backwards. So I'm not really clear why that's happening, but anyway, I'm Ellen Keene, and I'm a co-editor of this book along with Matt Glover, my beloved friend Matt Glover, and we each also wrote an essay in the book, and I think the agenda calls for me to share a little bit about that process in just a few minutes, so I won't say anything more, but I'm in my office in lovely Denver, and my friend Toby the Basset Hound is at my feet. And as Kathy will tell you from other webinars, occasionally Toby likes to join the conversation. So when he chooses to join the conversation, I will pick up my computer and give everybody a look at Toby, because that's really what he wants.
Wonderful. Matt?
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Carlson. I'm logging in from Portland, Oregon, where I work at the Portland Children's Museum Center for Learning and Opal School. And it's exciting to be here with you. At Opal School, we work with children as young as age 3 and as old as grade 5.
Oh, wow, I've read about that school. What a fun mixed group we have. This is going to be wonderful. Thanks, Matt. And Ariel, you made it!
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm Ariel Johnson. I'm coming to you live from my classroom, which is a hot mess right now. We're just getting started on Wednesday. I am a second grade teacher at what we call JOGS, Joseph and Linga Gregory Elementary School in Kalskag, Alaska, which is a Native Alaskan village. Our population is close to 500 altogether. My school is pre-K through second grade, and we have about 45 students. I'll have 11 in my class this year. Um, I am a Heinemann Fellow with Miss Anna, and I'm just I'm really happy to be here. This book is really special to me because I was actually invited to be a part of the group that went to Reggio Emilia that resulted in this book, and I, for personal reasons, ended up not being able to go. And when the book was finally published, Kathy Collins gave me her author's copy, and for my birthday, and it was just a really special moment, and it's just a beautiful book, and I did eventually get to go to Reggio Emilia a few summers later, so it's a special place and holds a special place in my heart.
Oh, wow. That's a fun story. Well, I think at this time, why don't we shift back to Ellen? And Ellen, you can tell us a little bit about the book and whatever comes to mind, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, well, I'll try to be quick. I mean, there's not, a book's history is never the most important part of the book, but it really did start with a Reggio exhibit here in Denver at the Denver Public Library, and Matt Glover happened to be in town, and we went to the exhibit together, and, it's just like, it was my first exposure, sort of up close to Reggio and to all of the children's work, and of course, once you see the work and once you see some of the artifacts, and it's not just you're reading about it in a book or an article somewhere, it's a very different experience. And so he invited me as well, Ariel, to go on that trip, and I ended up having to have my Achilles rebuilt, my heel and Achilles tendon rebuilt, which was quite a process, and so I too had to miss the trip. And so when he got back, he said, it was like hearing, it was torture, actually, hearing all of the things that they saw and were able to do. And he asked if I would like to co-edit this book. And we spent almost, probably 6 or 8 months just building the belief statements that anchor the book. So Matt, you were part of that. There were a lot of people that were part of that process. Renee Dinnerstein was particularly instrumental in helping to kind of get to collect some thinking from people around the country. So our decision was that we didn't want it to just read like a travel log, like we were there and we were so lucky and you weren't. So we really wanted to include people who had been on the trip, but also people who hadn't been on the trip, so that it didn't just feel like a travel log. And so we began by inviting a collection of authors, again, both folks who had been there and people who hadn't. But we asked as sort of, I don't know, as a first piece of writing, I guess, for them to write off some of the belief statements and or revise some of the belief statements, so that it was, so we were able to sort of see what their thinking was about it. And of course we wanted to have, a very diverse group of writers and so on, and a diverse group of essays. And so we then invited our initial group turned out to be our final group, and we all went about trying to figure out what it was to write an essay. Zoe Ryder-White from Heinemann was our Heinemann editor. She was marvelous, absolutely amazing. And it's, I think what was really challenging was to think about how is an essay different than a chapter that you would write in an edited edition, in somebody's edited edition, which, we had all done, but an essay is a very different proposition. And so I think the thing that we were thinking most about was what makes an essay, and how is that different, a different kind of writing. And so Tom Newkirk, whose essay appears, as you probably know, last in the book, as in save the best for, no, I'm not really saying that, but I mean, it is really, it was a very, very special essay that he wrote. He led off, and we got his draft, and it was really helpful because we could then begin to build our concept of what an essay is based on some of the things that he had done, which he in this essay does quite differently than in his typical writing. So it was really nice to be able to see that contrast. And then we spent really about a year collecting. Matt and I edited first, and then then Zoe really helped us with all of that, the editing part from Heinemann's point of view. And the more we read, the more excited we were, because as these things started to come in, it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what we're getting, just in the too good to be true category, seriously. And just then it was really fun because we got to decide how to lay it out, and then I wrote the little introductions. This is sort of just a little personal thing, but it was very, very important to me. My 99-year-old mother-in-law, she just had her 99th birthday, and she was a pistol, man. She was hell on wheels, boy. She at 99, she was wild and fun and wonderful. And on her 99th birthday, which was the February before the book came out, she fell, and so she was. I sat at her bedside in her final days and wrote the introductions to those essays, which I didn't choose to say anywhere in the book, so I'll just share that with you. But so those, it was obviously very emotional time for me, and it was just, seeing her 99 years and thinking back, and and occasionally we'd converse a little bit. She could talk a little bit at that point, and just seeing the lens of her 99 years, and then reading these essays again in order to write the intro to them right there by her side was really an extraordinary experience. It was just something that I'll obviously will never experience again, and it had a profound impact on me. And excuse me, the intros may be terrible, but I sure had a good time writing them. It was really, it was amazing to do it right there with her. And then, so that's a little bit of the history. We were just thrilled, honestly. I mean, the process couldn't have gone smoother. And the product, and putting it together, and then Matt's kids, doing this delicious cover that I just find, frankly, the best cover on my bookshelves. I mean, I just absolutely love it. And the fact that came from kids, and then Heinemann, the internal design folks picked up those motifs from that cover, and as you know, sprinkled them throughout. And wow, we just think they did an absolutely unbelievable job. So just aesthetically, which, yeah, there it is, Jacqueline. Aesthetically, which of course is what I wrote about in the book, I find it just, I'm just blown away by it. I love it. It's my favorite cover that I've ever seen on a book, and it's because it's kids, and that's of course what we wanted to depict. So there's a little background.
Thank you so much. I got to have fun with artwork every week because someone in design at Heinemann would take the quotes that I had pre-chosen throughout the essays and put them on the different graphics every week, and that was my summer. Kind of like every Thursday I would read.
I didn't even know you did that. That's brilliant. I didn't know that till this moment.
It was really fun, and I just, picking the quotes was easy because this book is, it's highlighted, and I wrote in this book more than actually, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, Ellen, I wrote in this book more than, it's the most I've written in a book since Mosaic of Thought, actually.
I had no idea you did. That's just, humble thanks, really. I mean, from my heart, because I did not know that until this moment. or somebody told me and I forgot because I'm very, very old. I should change my tagline. That's a good one to have. That's a new tagline. Maybe this one won't be backwards. Here we go.
Actually, it's not coming out backwards for me. You can click,
Okay.
there's a little mirror that will flip it around, but I don't see it backwards for you.
Okay. Well, now I've chosen another tagline, which I think is very fitting as well.
So click to show your tagline so we can all see the unveiling of who you currently are now. If you click it off and then on, it will refresh on the screen. We'll have some unveiling here.
There you go.
Oh, fantastic. See, now you're having fun with the byline. This is great.
I am. Oh.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, really at this point, I just thought mostly for, some quick reflection for ourselves, just to quickly, if we want to go around, just quickly say, an essay that struck us and why. I definitely, it's important to me to reflect, but I also really am thinking ahead to okay, where do we take this from here, the action, what do we do with this now, this new energy we have, new inspiration from this book. And so, I'll go first. We can just kind of go down the line. You don't have to share if you don't want to. It's completely up to you. I'm going to share two really quick. The first one is I've been talking all summer about Catherine Boehmer's essay. Well, first of all, I think I don't know. I feel like Catherine Boehmer's writing. I just want to drink it. it just flows so beautifully, and I'm just starting to dig into her new book on essays. The Journey is Everything, and it absolutely is, isn't it? And so the word that she uses to meet children expectantly and meeting children with expectancy is something that I just have been feeling in my gut ever since I read it, because when I was in the classroom, when I had hard days, that was the word that I needed in my head to sort of block out the noise. And I just feel like if that one word can be anyone's one word for the year or takeaway, and that's something that I just keep coming back to, is that idea of seeing a child expectantly every day, no matter where, the situation. I love that thought. And then also Jose Vilson, his essay, A Call to Lock Arms, it's probably the only one that I reread immediately. I reread them all throughout the summer multiple times, but after I read his, it was almost as though I was on the edge of understanding something and really getting something, and I went back and I reread it right away. And I follow him on Twitter, and I really investigate a lot, reading more about social justice, really trying to understand everyone's perspective in this crazy world. And I feel like he just really put his finger on it in here, that it's about everyone. This isn't about this group or that group or you or me or whatever. This is about all of us. This is about all of us working together in the world and seeing each other for the individuals that we are and the backgrounds that we have, and valuing that no matter what. So I was really struck by that essay. And I went first, so I would go quickly. I was even watching the clock. So, Anna, I'll pass it on to you if you have one that you want to share.
Well, actually, I've got two that I'd like to share. First of all, Tom's essay has really been sticking with me. I work with teachers, and the idea of changing something small, I think, is just it's so powerful. Is the idea that it's the small changes that stick. It's the actual quote from the book on page 217 is, "It's the small changes that last." And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, and just the idea that we want to think about our 1 year. What am I changing for this year? But in reality, this whole book for me is about what I want to become. It's about becoming the teacher, and I think that it's just that phrase right there. Instead of thinking of becoming a teacher as an end, it's becoming a teacher as an ongoing journey, and that's what's excited me so much about this book. And the other essay is Ellen's essay, and the reason is that I wrote in the margins when she gave some suggestions on how you could actually bring into your classroom and getting students to realize the aesthetic. And I wrote on pages 90 and 91 that it fits all grade levels and all subject areas. And I wrote easy suggestions. I can do this. And so I just felt really inspired after reading that.
Thank you, Anna.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thanks, Anna. Who wants to go next? We can even jump around. We don't have to go in order, and you don't have to share. It's up to you.
I'll jump in.
Great.
Newkirk's essay, I have to admit, also spoke to me, especially the 5%. If you just pick 5% to make a change, nothing major, and usually teachers go diving right into it. But if you just do a little bit, pull back, reflect, and maybe do a little more, pull back, reflect, I think that's a really strong message for a lot of teachers. And I'm going to pass that on this year. Boehmer's expectancy, I loved that terminology. That's another one I want to share with every teacher because they have what they expect the child to be, but they don't look at what the child's able to do and where that child is in the learning scheme. And that's something so precious, too precious to miss. And I'm looking at Vicki Vinton's. I loved her essay as well.
Great one, yeah.
Yeah, and also Ellen's, the aesthetic, because I'm always stopping the students to see something out the window, to look at the beauty. There's bluebirds that fly around and hang out in the bush, and I'm like, well, look at that bird, look at those. I always point that out to them, and I always preface, now you know I'm weird, but, and they never stop to
I don't think you should preface it at all.
Well, it's funny. It's a joke now, and they always say, "Oh, you're not weird," but they miss the beauty. They're not aware of it. And my mother, I was raised by 2 uncles that were artists, and there's beauty all around. Appreciate it, and even in themselves. And I don't think some students even see the beauty within, and through their work. And as I said, the book just spoke to my teacher's soul. I loved every essay.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Great. I have some favorite essays, and I even have some favorite sentences in the book. But even more than that, I really love the belief statements and the building around a set of belief statements. And when I think about, Ellen started off what she said by saying, well, a book's history is never its most important part. But for me, the book's history is its most important part in that it takes this the Reggio story that sat at such a great distance from Heinemann and from many of these authors, and exposed them to a world that is all about working with children and with each other around a set of beliefs that lead them to a whole different way of making schooling part of the human experience. So when Ellen talks about writing this book at her grandmother's feet, that doesn't surprise me, because it's not about what you're going to do in a 47-minute section of working with a group of 12-year-olds. It's about how that is related to the human experience, so that we can talk about teaching and learning in a much more sophisticated and much more nuanced way than we're usually able to. So when Jacqueline says, it's the thing that I've footnoted the most since Mosaic of Thought, I think, well, that's another book that does that as well. But it makes it so that if we keep relating to a set of beliefs, then if I'm working with 3-year-olds, I can still read Peter Johnston talking about working with adolescents and make sense of those things together. And I think that's so much more important as we move from this kind of vision of teacher autonomy more towards a sense of human agency. And that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else?
I think I'm going to piggyback on
I
what
guess
Matt
I'll
said.
go.
The idea of those belief statements, I found that very powerful as well. And we're doing a short PD on flexible grouping on Wednesday, and I want the teachers at my school to come up with their belief statement before they even go in. What do they believe their classroom should be? What do they believe their students should be? And who do they believe as a teacher they should be? And see if they have been running their classroom, or if their classroom has been going along those beliefs or not. Like, where did they stray? And
Chris, what's interesting, I mean, it might be interesting. I'm maybe exaggerating a little bit, but not much if I say that it took us as long to develop the belief statements as it did to get the essays finished. And so I think I love what you're planning to do, and I think it will be interesting to see how people circle back throughout the year or years.
oh yes,
To really think about how those beliefs not necessarily are changing, but evolving, and how people are sort of tweaking with them a little bit based on experiences with kids. And so it is to me, the development of the belief statements is a dynamic rather than static process. I'd love to go back now and and sort of see what we think now, to take the original group back and say, wait, in what ways would we change this? So, yeah.
I like that idea of going back. That makes a
Exactly.
lot of sense. Because even on the Padlet, what I put for my belief statement, I could go back and even look at that and think, and as you said, tweak it.
Yeah, I mean, there are always going to be changes because we're, as we learn, we're breathing new life into them. So,
Yes.
I'd love to be able to revisit them every couple of years with that same, group of people. I think it'd be very interesting.
That would be.
It made me think a lot about school mission statements, and how I wonder how many schools, I wonder how many people in schools don't truly know what the mission statement is, if the mission statement has been revisited, or if that's something that is visited by staff throughout the year to really make sure that what you're doing matches that. I have the feeling that in a lot of schools, the mission statement becomes something that you see when you land on the web page, and then that's the only life that it has.
Yeah.
And I don't really have anything else to say about that, except I feel like that can make it,
right.
I just want it to connect.
Jacqueline, that reminds me of the O'Keeffe essay. It was Mills and O'Keeffe. Just seeing, the two-column where you had Tim's beliefs and then how it played out in his practice. That, for me, was really powerful. It, kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, are your practices matching your beliefs?
And it was such a I mean, for lack of a better word right now, simple, just describing what was happening in his classroom. I feel like that's something that so many people could relate to. And when they read it, when they read and they can envision his classroom and what's happening and the students talking about books, all of a sudden you can see yourself. Oh, almost like it's that simple. But, you have to see yourself in that position, and there's so much noise in schools. There's emotional noise and just everything, and it's so hard to just see sometimes. I just wanted to welcome Alyssa. Alyssa, I'm so glad you made it.
Thank you. Here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great. Ariel, I think you were gearing up. You're ready to share.
Sure. I'll go ahead. The whole book is gorgeous, right? But starting with the title, for me, the title itself is so powerful. The teacher you want to be, I think that makes a powerful statement about teaching being a state of being. It's not the job that I do, it's who I am, and it's a living, breathing part of my existence, and beings grow and they change. And for me, that was super powerful, just from the beginning, the title. The Mills and O'Keefe article or essay that Anna mentioned was really powerful for me. I have a lot of people come in my classroom, or I've been, a literacy specialist and worked with teachers, and it's really frustrating to me when they're well-intentioned, absolutely, but, oh, you're magic. You can do that really well because you're magic. And it's like, no, I'm not magic. I think about what I and then I align my beliefs with the things that I do with children every day. And not that it's like some script that I think that you as a teacher can replicate. You have to do that for yourself, but you have to realize that it's not magic. It's being thoughtful about my practice and being deliberate and seeing where my holes are and where my gaps are, and trying to fill those in all of the time. And thinking a lot about my classroom is such a mess right now because I've decided to go deskless and work with flexible seating this year. And it's my 19th year teaching. I could just stop and be done and say, you know what, my kids can do all the things they need to do when they leave my classroom, but it's not okay. We have to keep getting better and better. And so for me, that particular part was really powerful and a way for me to kind of illustrate and for teachers, here, read this. This will help you, see that I'm not magic. Because I'm definitely not magic. Another article or essay that was powerful for me was Kathy's about collaboration or compliance. I teach in a public school, but I have an Opal School, Reggio kind of heart, and I think a lot of times, particularly where I am in the bush, and schools that are, kind of under the radar period because of test scores and those sorts of things, there's this tendency to kind of micromanage and lobotomize teachers rather than empowering them. And I thought that Kathy's essay was really, really powerful in terms of that. And plus, she's just funny. She made up a brand. She coined a new word, which is just fabulous. And,
isn't that what Kathy does?
And she actually started writing a song to the tune of Ice Ice Baby because I was so inspired by her essays. I'm not ready to put it out in the world yet, but it starts with all right, stop, collaborate, and listen. So that's all I have to say.
Can't wait to hear it. Alyssa, or anyone, Kathy, does anybody else want to share? And again, no pressure. I don't want to forget anyone.
I'll share now that all the moving furniture is finished behind me, around me. They actually were moving the table that my computer is on while I'm sitting here.
What are those people thinking?
All around me. That's why my mic was muted. But I have to say, that really, all of the writing was just so important to me. Not as a former classroom teacher, I used to be in the classroom, and now I'm working for Heinemann, working with teachers and administrators, and it just made me realize how important a job we have and how important it is to really know what you believe and reflect and think about why we do what we do. And even in my role, and for me, just I think like Ariel said, I mean, the title spoke to me because I always wanted to be the very best teacher I could be. And when I hear people like Christy Mraz and Christine Hertz, I want to be a better human being above all, and to do the best for the kids and the best for my colleagues, and now the best for the people that I work with every day and for all of you out there. So the writing was beautiful in itself and inspiring. All my favorite authors. I mean, I am blessed to be able to work with all of you every day and get to read your words. But for me, it really was all about, thinking about what do I believe, and am I living in a way that honors those beliefs and honors the children, and it really is putting the children first above all else, no matter what gets thrown your way. And that is really hard to do. I can't imagine being in a classroom now or in a school. I've been out of public education for about 5 years, and I think it just gets harder and harder every day. And it's words like these and books like these that I think give teachers kind of something to hang on to. The words are powerful. It's more than just words on paper. So, I mean, I couldn't pick out one thing. It's just a book that's just going to have a very important place in my heart always.
Mm-hmm.
Can I? Yeah. Hi. I'm sorry. I was late. I was trying to get in, and I was doing it wrong. So I'm glad I'm here. I just wanted.
So glad you made it.
Yeah. I just wanted to a couple of things. Going back to what you said, Jacqueline, I think it was you about the mission statements and the vision statements or whatever of schools. I think it's true that a lot of times they're just created for the boards, for whatever, people out there, and then teachers don't take a look at them again. I have to say, I wrote, a lot of people don't even know what it says, but I have to say that the last couple of years at my school, we do have a new mission statement, and our director refers to it. I'm at an international school in South America, so we have a pre-K-12 school, and our director does refer to it a lot, so I feel like a lot of the teachers actually do know what, for the main gist or the important pieces of it. And our director was actually mentioned in the book because she was one of the people that went to Reggio with everybody else that was on that tour. So I think that in itself, I think, is positive. She's an early childhood person herself, and so she has really done a lot with the focus of the early childhood program and trying to bring it back up to the middle grades and extend it throughout the school. For me, the book was just like each article, each chapter stirred so many different things or pieces. Thinking a lot about this year, which is to kind of go back to what I know makes sense. And the book, all of the writers, all of the contributors had a piece of that spoke to me, and I feel like one of the things that's with me is that whole issue of expectancy that was Catherine Bomer. I'm pretty sure it was Catherine Bomer that talked about that. Not just, receiving kids as they are for who they are, and not having, now when I hear the word expectations, we've been in school for a week, teachers have. So I hear the word expectation, then I hear the word fidelity thrown around a couple of times, and I'm thinking, no, no, I'm that's not what I want to do in my classroom this year. I want to really focus on making sure that what I believe matches what I do in the classroom and vice versa. So that's kind of my focus. So this book came at a perfect time.
Awesome. Well, I think, at this point, I really just want to look forward, and I think too that I know, Ellen, you talked about how you wrote the introductions for each of the essays, and you joked about not knowing how good they were, but I came to really appreciate those because they really just kind of grounded me for the next essay. I really loved them.
I was just a little dazed and confused at the time.
Sorry, some of the best things come out that way.
I admit.
And but I definitely, I noted a quote from the intro in the book where you stated, or perhaps it was Matt, that we want to move these beliefs from being a background detail to the defining feature in our practice. And so we we can do that. We have that. That's kind of freeing if you think, oh, okay, I can do that between, in my four walls, so to speak, or in my classroom. What does this mean for everybody else? What does this mean? And one of you mentioned the small changes. Anna, I think, that Tom talks about those small changes. And so, how can we encourage other people, including teachers, but even looking at leaders, administrators, people around, because I know that this is the kind of book that if a variety of leaders were to read it and take action on it, the power that it could have, and I'm sure you all agree with that, right? So does anybody have any thoughts or ideas on how to take this message forward? Short of putting it in your principal's box or whatever. Has anyone thought of anything yet?
It's funny because as we've been talking, people have mentioned a couple of times the title as being something that's really significant to them, and it's interesting because I'm always concerned about setting up this kind of super teacher idea, right? All this light on I'm going to be the teacher that I want to be and save the world, and really this thing is about the world that we want to create, right? So and we're creating these worlds in our work with children. We get to turn to the children to learn more about what this world could be, and their unique perspectives on the world kind of give us new fuel for that and fodder for that. And I think that when I keep on, what I heard repeated throughout this conversation is a sense of integrity, of wanting to live in a way that's consonant with your beliefs, and really the word for that is integrity. And I think that the answer for how to bring it out further is about documenting the experiences that are happening in classrooms that are trying to live with integrity, and bringing children's voices out to a brighter spot, because I think that's the ultimately persuasive point, is when you hear children's voices that come from the conditions that are in these kinds of learning environments that are guided by these beliefs, that I think really inspires people to move forward in change.
That's awesome, Matt. And when you were just saying about the world we want to create, it made me think of what Ariel, was it maybe what you were saying, and that I think you said it in the group, that you commented and you said you couldn't wait for your cupcakes to show up and start creating your little family, and you were so excited about that, and that has to be the vision, because that's what you want to create, to set forward. And because, has anyone seen the video that's been going around? I think I posted it in the group, of the little boy walking around school and how people meet him with kind of a negative response. If you haven't seen it, scroll back through the group. I might have posted it yesterday or the day before. It started just going around social media recently, but it's a video that was made, so it wasn't real, but the boy goes around, and everyone he meets throughout his day kind of meets him with a very hard, stern, finger-wagging kind of mentality. But then they kind of flip it and say, what if we met children like this? What kind of people would they turn around and be if this is what their day was like? And then they kind of replay everything with the boy again, where he's greeted, like a human, and treated with respect, and there's dignity. And it really does depict what we're saying here, is that this is about, Christy Mraz says all the times, like, we're growing humans here. And it's so true. And so I really think that by living and speaking and modeling that integrity, but also getting our voices out, writing about what's going on in our classrooms, how this is working, but also too from all different kinds of places. I think, Ariel, you were the one that said earlier about schools being under the radar, and usually the schools that need the most flexibility to do what's right for kids are the ones that have the reins pulled the tightest. So the more people that share their stories from different classrooms in different locations and different settings, I think that we can kind of build, we build that with that story, we build that narrative. I think of where I taught, it was quite the bubble, but right down the road, was another school that did not have the same freedom that we had. It was literally 2 miles down the road, and I always felt they were the ones who needed that flexibility to just look at kids and say, I'm going to do what is right for you right now. And it seems so silly that that's even a thing, that you even have to ask permission to do what's right for kids, but
we do. Just to follow up for a quick second on what Matt was saying, and I think so many people mentioned that they love Tom's essay, and of course I love all my children. I cannot have a favorite. But I will say that Tom's was very influential for me, and it was I think he is certainly arguing for making small changes, but I think his other argument that for me is so important is that he's arguing for teacher research. He's arguing for action research. Mm-hmm. And that action research in our classrooms is at least, if not more, relevant and matters at least as much as the research that researchers do in a more controlled setting. So obviously this is not going to be a surprise to anybody because I'm working with the fellows, but I am absolutely convinced that classroom-based research, where we formulate a question that is around a problem of practice, any problem of practice, and then develop a plan to sort of systematically look at that. Anna and Ariel are probably thinking blah 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 because their research plans are due this week. But even that, I mean, it is such a, the word I would use is the process has such integrity because it's not a quantifiable university-based kind of research, but it is a structured kind of research where we are disciplined a little bit in terms of looking at problems of practice, and they do relate to wanting to maintain integrity. They do relate to wanting to do the best thing for kids and to having that freedom to respond. So I just, at the risk of sounding like I'm putting in a plug for action research, I really do think it's a very important way to take what we've done with the book and really put it into action. And Tom's essay calls specifically for that. So
I think that's important because schools are losing sight of not their purpose. The teachers know, but everything else is getting involved. The politics, the money, this and that. And we're losing sight of what we need to be. It's the children. That's why we're there. That's our main concern. So the action research and finding the aesthetics and speaking to the child where they are at their level of expectancy, that's what a school needs to remember in order to function. Not the grades, not the testing, not this. I think that kind of buries good teachers.
Right, and nobody has yet mentioned Matt Glover's essay, which I think is also just absolutely brilliant and really fits with what you're saying, Chris, and that is that we cannot continually be thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next. I mean, we're getting them ready to go to kindergarten, we're getting them ready to go to first grade, we're constantly getting ready, and getting ready for the SAT. I have a dear friend, like a sister, whose son went to college on Monday. Wednesday. He started classes today, and of course there were many tears. And this kid, who had no idea about this book, said, "Well, finally, I don't have to be getting ready for something. I'm in college. Finally, I don't have to be getting ready for something." So here's an 18-year-old who has been doing this his whole life, no doubt. And I just find that, I find that very sad. He's fine. He's a great kid. He's gonna thrive. But I find it sad to think back and know that Harrison has been thinking for years that he's constantly getting ready for that next thing, and finally he's there. And
we're rushing them through a world of learning. It's
Yeah.
sad.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, and I think one of the lines he says something, it's about if readiness, he's not arguing for against readiness. It's that when that drives the bus, then we have a problem, and we can't go to the first day of third grade and think, what am I going to do to get these kids ready for fourth grade or for fifth grade or whatever? We need to go in and think, who am I going to see today?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, we are nearing time, if all of you can believe that. I just wanted to quickly highlight a couple of things about actually, before I do that, what I pulled up was the Padlet. Has anyone not seen the Padlet?
I don't think I've seen the Padlet.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up because that way anyone who's watching or watches the video can see too, and I'll put the link out. I haven't actually looked at it in a little bit, and it's just one of those things that I feel like would be fun to kind of go back to and revise, and to be able to see, let's see, here we go. I believe so I will. So I'm just going to click over and screen share for a quick moment. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I haven't looked for a while either.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I love reading through these, and these are editable. So if you feel that your thinking has changed, by all means, edit. But I'm probably going to keep this Padlet alive in the Facebook group for a while, just to kind of keep this fresh in our minds. For people that were active in the study, or even people that weren't active in the study, just to kind of keep this at the forefront, because this is what keeps us moving forward. And I just, I love it too. And I think, oh, Anna, this was yours. I remember. Let's take a closer look at that one. It was so pretty. It's really fun to make these. If anyone hasn't, if you've ever made, did you use Canva, Anna?
I used Vanilla Pen. I did that one on my phone.
Oh, fun. I haven't used that one. Oh, new tool. Yeah, I could make those all day. But anyway, I'm just going to quickly stop. Let me think. Quickly change my screen share. Just for anyone watching who is unaware. Okay. That this is our Facebook group, the Teaching and Learning Community. Anyone is welcome to join. It comes to my phone, and I approve you, and in you go. And you can look back through. As a matter of fact, you can even see now here is, people in the group have maybe even clicked to hear our conversations today. But you can also search through the posts. I tagged most of them, so if you were to click Week 6 TLC, that will pull up all the posts from Week 6, which is a nice way to kind of recap if you forget and you're looking for something. This group will continue. We will kind of go back into a lot of the model that we had throughout the school year, the PLC series. We're kind of shifting the name from online PLC to PLC series. And this will continue sharing content, sharing links, things like that. There have been a lot of requests for another book study, and in the middle of yoga today, when I was supposed to be concentrating, all of a sudden the book, the book that I think I want to do popped into my mind. So I'll let you all sit, hang on the edge of your seats until
No,
you have to tell us.
And then the only other thing that I really wanted to click on for anyone watching who's unaware of everything else going on at Heinemann PD, General Manager of Heinemann, Vicki Boyd, says that the heart of Heinemann is certainly the books, but that the PD is what kind of keeps it pumping and flowing, and thought that was such a nice way to put it. And Heinemann.com/PD is where you can find everything about people available to come and speak and work at your school, from our on-demand courses, mini courses, which are rich with videos and are amazing, and lots of one-day workshops, institutes, all different kinds of things. So I just kind of wanted to make sure I pointed that out to everyone. So if you weren't sure where to find all of that, you can go to Heinemann.com/PD. And I'm going to stop screen sharing now and wrap this up. And does anyone have anything final they want to say before we end, or should we just say we'll see each other in the group, see you online?
That sounds good.
Jacqueline,
And
I'd like
Ellen,
to
thank you for your work.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Said Ellen, thank you for the work.
Oh, I mean, it was a joy, but I wanted to thank Jacqueline for putting this together. It really is. I mean, just this evening has just been so helpful. If you all haven't, I can't really usually do two things at the same time, but just reading the chat box at the same time. I mean, there's such rich thinking in the chat box to go along with the conversation. So I think the format you picked, obviously, Jacqueline, is really helpful. And thank you so much for organizing and keeping everything going, and for your very, very thoughtful comments all the way through. It's very, very much appreciated. So
I'm so glad. It's my pleasure. I can't even tell you how much I love that this is something I get to do every day. I can't even believe it. If I'm not going to be in the classroom, if this is what I'm going to be doing, I mean, I'll take it. Wonderful. You know what? That actually reminded me of something there. Just to kind of wrap this up, it's kind of a side note, but I don't think there are any book reviews of this book on Amazon. And I bring that up because there are a lot of books out there that maybe aren't the message that we want loud and clear, that have a ton of reviews and great reviews and high ratings and things like that. So I would recommend you and anyone you know that's read the book to go on and rate and write a review of this book. I think that some people do pick their books from Amazon comments and ratings that don't know who Heinemann is from whatever. So I encourage you to go on there and write a book review and put a rating so that other people can start to see that. It's on my to-do list, so I'm sure we all have one of those. In your spare time, write a review.
Maybe I'll pick a pseudonym. If you see one from The Best Driver in the World, you'll know.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for those of you who watched or will possibly watch the recording later. But thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.